What's up, everybody? Thank you for stopping by to my channel. We are getting into it today and the rest of the week. Here we go. Today we are looking again at ZEROBASEONE, what the hell? ZEROBASEONE, Running to the Future. This is produced by Humbler and Kenny Hong. We did a previous reaction video to this, peeps. If you don't remember, we looked at Iconic. So if you hadn't seen that, jump back, take a look at that. We are going to get into this now.
And also this video was released today, so
right, it was just released today. So guys, if you have not seen this video, please stop, go to the original video, take a look at that first, then jump back here. Let's give these artists the flowers that they deserve. No cheating, no spoilers. Here we go. This is ZEROBASEONE, Running to the Future. Let's count it down. 1, 2, 3,
오늘도 달라진 공기가 우리에겐 어떤 의미일까. 시작부터 정해진 인상, 어쩌면 영원히 밤일까.
우리의 마지막 페이지도 어쩌면 새로운 이야기로.
너와 나 눈이 부시던 우리의 계절 끝을 달려왔어.
기분 좋은 꿈을 꿨다면 눈뜰 수 있게, 한 번 더 안녕이란 말 건넬 수 있게. 기적 같던 우리를 기억해줄래. Don't wanna wake up, 아무래도 난 붙잡은 손 헤칠 수 없을 것 같아. 시간을 뛰어 건너 약속했던 그곳에서 You're stunning, stunning 영원 속에 겹겹이 쌓인 계절 위에 가만히 눈을 감은 채 손 떼고 기다려줄게. 어떤 모습이라도 널 알아볼 수 있도록 I'm running, running the future. 천천히 늦지 않게 Give me love again.
Yeah, 우연에 우연히 모여 우리가 됐고, 괴롭다가도 넌 내 방안 같았고, 언젠가 헤어져도 슬퍼 말자고 너로 영원했기에 모든 happy end.
깨울이 막연함 빌어 내가 먼저 인사 건네 hello.
눈앞에 너를 볼 때면 바보 같은 넌 네가 보고 싶어.
기분 좋은 꿈을 꿨다면 눈뜰 수 있게, 한 번 더 안녕이란 말 건넬 수 있게. 기적 같던 우리를 기억해줄래. But it's not the end. 언젠가 우리 시간을 뛰어 건너 영원히 함께한.
You're stunning, stunning 영원 속에 겹겹이 쌓인 계절 위에 가만히 눈을 감은 채 미소 띄고 기다려줄게.
어떤 모습이라도 널 알아볼 수 있도록 I'm running, running the future. 천천히 늦지 않게 Give me love again. 여전히 잘하는 네가 너도 같은 맘이랄까. I know you know we'll shine together. 내 눈동자에서 너.
Okay, so I love the concept of the song. If you guys aren't getting it, what I'm taking from it is that it seems like these two people as a couple need to put things on ice. They need to take a break. And you know what happens when you take breaks. We were on a break. Anyways, basically saying we're going to break for now, I guess, but the plan is to get together in the future. So now he's saying I'm running for that future, like waiting for that day. Meanwhile, the girl is really on a break. They are breaking. So with that said, I do like the lyrics. I can tell that in the chorus when he says I'm running to the future, or running to the future. Some of the lyrics may not be translating well in the translation as far as YouTube, right? Because it's running for the future, not to the future, but I think it's just lost in translation there. I like it. I like it. The second verse kind of transitions a little bit. There's a bit of a genre change, but the only thing that makes it that change is the fact that the drums become these FL Studio type sounding drums. What I mean by that is that the snare changes from the very first verse to the second verse. They make it more of a trap snare. And what a trap snare is, especially coming from FL Studio, is your typical 808 snare that's mixed in with the clave, the 808 clave sound. And it's being hit together. That just kind of formed like the signature trap sound back in the early 2000s. It would really, the producer 40 from Toronto, Canada, who was working with Drake at that time, really formulated that whole production value, you know, using FL Studios and using their sounds and yet programming in something like Logic or whatever, Studio Live or whatever he was using. I want to believe, especially being in Toronto, because a lot of those producers out there are using Logic. They have been using Logic and Performer and, you know, all that, Mac Performance. So it's kind of like that evolution was really, really big. Whereas right over the border in the United States, in Detroit, Toledo, and Chicago, we're all about Pro Tools. Anyways, just a little bit of gear history for you. Let's keep it going. Here we go. Very cool, man. Very, very cool. Now look, it's a departure from the last reaction that we had with these guys. This song is very, how do I say it? Because if I say soft, people are going to take that wrong, and I don't mean it that way. This is a very thoughtful song. It's kind of mid-tempo with more of a ballad vibe. And the only reason I say ballady, because it's definitely not a ballad, but it gives the ballad vibes to it in the way that if you were to take those drums and cut them in half, instead of boom, it would work perfectly with which is making it a complete ballad. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways that you could take this. Even in a remix, it would be cool with a, you know, because that sounds like it's coming in at about 125, 120, 125 BPM. So it would be a really good minimal techno remix if you were to do it. Other than that, the words were very sweet. And I really, really loved the concept of that. You know what I mean? Of breaking for now and then being back, being hopeful that you'll be back by that person's side again down the line. So very cool. A lot of surprises. The production value of it was extremely well. And more than I like the production, because I think there's some things in the production as a producer that I would have done to make this track a little more nuanced, right? Because this sounds like a track that may have been done a long time ago. Like, you know what I mean? Like somebody had done this type of track. And I'm not saying the lyrics or the words, but the track itself sounds a bit dated. However, the way that they've mixed it, the way that they've encompassed the entire mix was brilliant. Because if you have ears like mine, then you know something about mastering. The way that they master it, and I think they were a little obvious with it, was that when the chorus comes up, I could hear very faintly that they used the white noise at the top of the mix to kind of give it this spread. White noise is a bit tricky to use in mastering, because if you don't use it correctly and use too much of it, the white noise could actually start sucking up your mix. You know what I mean? It can start actually, it's too much of a It's like a picture and then putting a sheet of paper in front of it, like a really thin sheet of paper that you can see through. Truth about it is the moment that you put that paper like that over in a master, you're flattening everything. And so they used that as a way of just expansion and sound. They used it correctly here, and it sounds gorgeous. It sounds really, really good. They look good. The video editing was amazing. I love the different ways that they shot. It looks as if they'd used a blue or green screen in some shots, because I could see that the artwork, the paper mache, I guess you could say, artwork that surrounded them in certain things. So it was very well thought out. I could just imagine looking probably at the production notes, or even the you call those, anyways, the cards that show you each scene. It looks like they picked out 4 very, very cool scenes and they kind of shot storyboard. So the storyboard looked like, in general, would have been like maybe 4, and we're going to call them locations because some of this was definitely not done in a location but in the studio. But they had 4 looks, and they really went with that. So that's very organized. You can tell also, as a filmmaker and a video maker, a producer, I can tell that this was very well thought out. This was not guerrilla style. Let's just pick a day, let's go out there and shoot. No, this was very constricted. All shots were blocked, striked, everything. So great job, ZEROBASEONE. I am very, very happy to see what you guys come up with this year. This is going to be a big year for everybody. And yeah, K-pop is doing its thing. So I like the song a lot. I think it's definitely radio friendly. It's definitely something that you can hear on more of a VH1 kind of radio thing. You know, it's very, very soft pop. And there's a place and there's a home for that, because that does very well. Because believe it or not, my last thing is soft pop music kind of has a way of crossing into the world market. And I think that's a very, very valuable bridge to have with that kind of market, because back in the early 2000s, and I want to say between 2007 and 10, when you had VH1, Video Hits 1 channel, that was kind of what VH1 was always doing, was outlining more softer rock, softer pop, whereas MTV was very aggressive. You know what I mean? And this kind of sounds like it's in that era. It sounds between 2007, 2010. But again, the bridge is to a bigger audience and to a bigger platform. And I think that that soft pop definitely has that bridge to world music. And if you know anything about world music by itself makes more money than any industry as far as in the music industry, because there's just more money there. You know, if you want an example of a world music person, would be Bruce Springsteen. Who else would be considered world music at this point? Shit. I mean, the older people like Stevie Nicks, or so there's that type of people, and that industry is just super huge, and it really lends itself to a big platform in Australia, which is crazy because you have a lot of Australian idols that are in the K-pop industry. So all these little bridges, all these little connections, they all make sense when it comes to how the industry is actually structured. With that said, you guys, thank you very much. If you haven't yet, please like, subscribe, put that notification bell on to let you know the next time we drop one of these videos and I give you these completely useless music business gems. All right, we'll talk to you guys later. Peace.